So, last 2 weeks, we did learn several functions. So we have some tools that we actually can use for writing programs. So for today, I was thinking of I made up this task of a bit more advanced, almost a program, right? So where you have to build an array, you have to do some functions. So actually, one can do this basically simple application, but the thing is, one can expand on whatever is written. That, well, the minimum functionality of the program is that it's just basically displays, connects some strings, and that's it. But one can, of course, do more about that and make it more interesting. So I think it's gonna be quite interesting and incorporating basically all the things we did so far. So I did put to Discord this review material. I just copied some code from here and there, and basically this will sum up the week 1, week 2, most of it though, because I did not touch on the libraries that we used, like math or the random library.
Where do I find this in the Discord?
Yeah, when you go to Discord, you go to I think I put it in lectures.
Okay.
That's where I put the file.
Okay. Yeah,
it should be all here. I mean, the previous, because on the first stream, the Zoom was not optimum, so it's hard to read some of this stuff, but all the files are here in the lectures. So all the files, they should be here. So including week 1, week 2, and now this one, this short review of what we did. So going back to the code, if you guys remember, this is like the first list we made, and we are also, the second line is introduced to us this type of command, which is type, which told us what type a given variable is. In this case, it's just number 10, so obviously it's just going to be an integer. And another command for checking the length of a predefined list, cars in this case. Well, I'll just run it with whatever. So if I go back a bit, I can see the output. Is it well visible, this? I can try to zoom in a bit more.
Okay, I think it's okay.
Okay, great. So this is the first print function, which prints this line. So the type of 10 is integer, and the length, okay, this car length was never printed, so obviously we're not going to get the answer for that. If you guys remember, at week 1, it was this tiring piece of code. It's like a bit overcomplicated. It's like in this try and accept function for try, basically tries to execute some code in case there's any error. It's just going to give this error back. So it was a bit overcomplicated, especially with these two functions nested, and well, for week 1, it was a bit of a headache. So I did take it apart. Over here, we have a link for this W3 Schools. They have some good material and simply explained about Python, so feel free to use it. And here we have this simple function that I just copied from the W3 Schools about this try and accept in case of an exception, what it does. So over here, as we can see, it tries to print X, but we did never define X, so it's not going to work. So thanks to that, it's not going to break the whole code. It's just going to print out the message an exception occurred or whatever we please inside. Problem with X variable, that's also a possibility. And this way, we get to know using this try and except. It's good for, I guess, troubleshooting. So that's one part of this big code we had in week 1. The next one would be input. We did learn input back then. Input is just asking the user to put something from the keyboard. And as one can notice, I over here asked for input. The message was this command asks for input, and I over here did insert a number 3. And then over here on line 27, it printed out this number. And on line 28, it printed out the number again. And this is how it looks. It's just no difference for us at all. But the problem was we had this issue week 2, if I remember correct, that the data type, even though it looks free, one is a string and the other is an integer, and it kind of breaks the program when doing some comparisons later on. If you did this comparison in line 34, it would compare in case there was no conversion to integer, meaning a number. Without this, it will give an error. So I'll put a 3. And okay, because I did put the other conditions here, it actually worked. But if I do remove all of them, then I guess the situation is going to be a bit different. I'm too lazy to remove that. But anyway, if we compare a string to a number, okay, maybe this way. Instead of redoing code, I'll just put a 5. And the problem is we never got this number is equal 5 because it compared a 5 as a string with 5 as a number. If we change this to a string, then probably it would work if we input a 5 and we have it. Number is equal 5, but we don't want to operate on strings. When we compare with the 2 equal signs is comparison. If you guys remember, 1 equal sign is when you assign some value to a variable. In Python, thankfully, we don't have to declare what kind of variable it is, like in other programming languages. So here, for comparing, is it equal? It works because, well, you can compare string with another string. So you can compare a word with another word and see if it's the same. But if it comes to checking if it's greater or smaller, that's when the whole thing would break, because it doesn't like that. And what does it say? Yes, maybe this way, how it should be. And there we have it. We have an error because you cannot check if a string is smaller or greater than an integer. And that's why we get this problem. And that's why we were converting this number from input. The thing is, at the end of week 1, we did convert the whole input over here, same time, and then saved it to a variable. So in this case, it was done a bit differently, meaning I did not convert it. And because of that, in the next conditional statements, I had to convert it. So actually, it would make sense for the program. And here we have this conditional statement that it checks every single condition. And if it fulfills one of the conditions, then it will print or execute whatever is over here. Also, Valentin, pay attention that when you write this colon, press enter, then it gives you this little indentation. It's very important in Python that you keep the indentations as they are.
So I should, okay.
Because the indentations are quite important, because this...
okay, yeah. If I would delete them, the formula wouldn't work.
Yeah, if I do it like this, you get already highlighted problems, because
okay,
it expects, after the colon, it expects indentation. In this case, in declaring a function, in doing statement, in doing loops, and different type of things, it does expect indentation. So whichever condition is fulfilled, it's gonna execute the code. It doesn't have to be one line, it can be more lines. You can write whatever you want, doesn't matter. It can do as many lines as necessary. Okay, so that was it for the conditional statement, but do let me know if you guys have some questions about what we reviewed so far. And then we reach for loops. We did some loops on the last session. So the best loop was if you had an array called cars, we can iterate over every single element in cars. And thanks to that, we're gonna get a list. This comment on line 43 and 44 printed out this list of loud, red, and fast. And this comes from this list. Maybe if I moved this, well, it's okay to copy it and paste again. Because if I change something here, because over here it's just loud, and over here it's loud too, maybe a bit louder, who knows? It should be fine, because we just redefine it again. It's no problem with lists. You can change them all as you want. So obviously it printed this updated list that the cars are loud too, red and fast. Yeah, but this way it's easier, I guess, to see this list we're iterating over. And a car, it's just, it doesn't have to be car. You can call it I don't know, a gem. Then you just, the thing is, this stands for every single element inside. One could call it just maybe element in the whole list. And the thing is, whatever you use here, then to refer to that particular element that the loop is going over, you just have to type that word element. So this loop repeats itself as many times as there are elements in this list. And there was this other loop that we also went over. It was the while loop. As we can see, this simple example, while false, because in the end, this while list expects true or false statement in the end. So if it says false to begin with, it is never going to execute this message. So this message will never be printed. So for another, I defined I as equals 0. And over here, I have another while list. And while I is smaller than 5, so it expects a statement. Is as long as it's smaller, the statement will be true. So as long as it's true, it is going to continue executing whatever is on this list. I mean, whatever is in this, well, how do you call it, in this indentation? So one can see I before addition is 0, because it also makes a big difference where you are going to add this 1, in this case at least. In which place you're going to add 1, because if you have some other code here, then you need to expect the number to be one smaller and here one bigger. So in case of different codes, it's quite often that one makes an error and the value is just wrong by one number. So the best option is just to double check and see if it prints out what you guys expect. And I just did this one line just so we get separators between different iterations, so it's a bit easier to read. Okay, what else we did is the math and random libraries, but I don't think we're gonna use them today. So when we're gonna use them, well, we will recall them, and besides that, another library that might be, well, if you guys going to stick with Python and do some data analysis or do some operations on different arrays, then probably the library you'd be interested in is NumPy. We probably will check it at some point. Python NumPy W3 schools. They should have on W3 schools. There's a whole tutorial about NumPy, which is a library for doing different type of operations, creating functions. As for plotting the functions, there would be another library also available for that. I think it's called Matplotlib. But anyway, in case you are guys more into science, databases, I mean, this type of tasks that have to do with databases and converting a big number of data, probably this library is something you will need to use. I mean, it's worth using it. It makes life easier. Comparing to, for example, MATLAB, well, Python is for free. So that's one reason to use Python. And also one can do a bit more, a bit easier with Python using the NumPy comparing to MATLAB, I guess. At least that's, I didn't use MATLAB that much myself. So, well, it's just opinion of some people I know. And for those that don't know what MATLAB is, it's just basically a program that is used still for making different type of calculations, drawing diagrams, drawing functions, and calculating different type of things based on data. Okay, so this is this part of the review.